Alright, so today we're going to go over your Delta math that's assigned to you for today. And we'll do one of each different levels. And I'm also going to try to show you how you can use Desmos to help solve some of these, okay? Same way I did it when we were doing logarithms and solving, okay? You can do the same thing, line 1, line 2, find the intersections. Sometimes with the decimal, it's tricky, okay? Especially if it's a repeating decimal, all right? So let's go ahead and start. So we're going to start with the first one. Now I didn't do one like this in the lesson. This kind of goes back to math 2 with proportions. So there's two ways to solve this. You can get like denominators with this one. But when you have it where there's two fractions equaling each other, this can be treated like a proportion. I have an issue spelling here. A proportion, okay? And to solve proportions, you use cross multiplication. Okay, so we're going to cross. And remember, when you cross, you've got to multiply everybody by it. So I'm going to say 2 times x times 7. 2 times x plus 7 equals, cross again, 7 times x plus 3. Now you can get like denominators, that is fine. But this is easier. So we distribute the 2, and then you get 2x plus 14 equals 7x plus 21. Get your x's on one side, so I'm going to subtract 2x. I'm going to come over here, okay? And I get 14 equals 5x plus 21. Subtract the 14. And, oh, I'm sorry, don't subtract the 14. I'm going crazy. Subtract the 21 from both sides. So I'm going to say 14 minus 21. I get negative 7 equals 5x. Those cancel. Then divide by your 5. And x equals negative 7/5. Now, I want to show you how you can check that in Desmos. Okay? So remember when we did logarithms and exponentials? When I finally taught you the graphing way? I don't want to call it the cheat way because you can use graphing. I used graphing in high school. Graphs can actually solve a lot of your questions before you do any of the work. We just forget about it so much. So, remember when I taught you in decimals, the left-hand side was line 1, and then the right-hand side was line 2, and then you find their intersection where they meet like you're solving a system. So if we come to Desmos, line 1 is going to be y, remember you're going to need your y equals 2, remember put your numerator in parentheses because you just never know. I mean you do, but it's always a good habit just to start. And then x plus 3, that's line 1. Now we haven't gone over the rational graph, we'll go over that tomorrow. But that's what your rational graph looks like. And then y equals, line 2 is the right hand side. It's going to be 7 divided by x plus 7. And then you find where they intersect. Okay? So we're going to, I forgot you can't do that on this. Zoom out. And if you look, it's not really going to cross over here anywhere. They're going to stay pretty parallel to each other. You can kind of tell that, how the red and blue line don't mix. But if you look right here, they do intersect right there. Now, you're looking for x equals. So, and Delta math is going to take, it probably would take that fraction negative 1.4. But if it's a repeating decimal, Desmos isn't going to take it, and you're going to have to convert it to a fraction, which I've showed you how to do with Google. Okay. So my answer here is negative 1.4, which if you type negative 7/5 into the calculator, so if I come up here and I type negative 7/5, that's negative 1.4, which is the same thing. Okay, so your graph actually can answer your questions for you. Okay? All right. Next one, same thing, cross multiplication. Okay? But you can use Desmos. Okay? Line 1, line 2. The only time I think Desmos would be a struggle is if you can't find it or it's a repeating decimal. That's when you need to have both tools in your toolbox. You need to know how to do it by hand and know how to do it with Desmos when you got a time crunch on like a final exam or something, okay? So remember, this is line 1, okay? And then the right-hand side is going to be line 2. And then your goal is to find the intersection. Okay? Now, if it's a nasty or irrational decimal, you might want to come back and do it by hand or see if you can figure out what the fraction is of it. Okay? So, left-hand side, line 1, y equals parentheses. Remember, when you have two terms on top, you have to use your parentheses. So it's x minus 4 divided by x. Line 2, y equals 6 divided by x plus 4. Okay? Find their intersections, and if you look, 9 times out of 10, it's going to be right here on your home screen, okay, where it is. If you need to, zoom out just to see, but it looks like they're going to be pretty good. So here's one answer, and you're looking for x equals. So x equals 8 is one of them. And the other one is right there. Remember, you want intersection points where the two color lines intersect. I don't need the y-intercept. I need the answers. So your other answer is -2. So just to prove again I'm right, okay, this is a cross multiplication one. I'm going to cross multiply those two, and I'm going to say x minus 4 times x plus 4. It's cross multiplication. You're crossing and multiplying. So I crossed, multiply, equal, cross again. That's just going to be 6x. I need to multiply these together by doing the box method. And it's just going to be x squared minus 16 equals 6x. I told you in a previous video, if you have your quadratic term and your linear term, you're going to need to set it equal to 0 and factor. So I'm going to move positive 6x over, and it's going to make it a negative 6x. So now I have x squared minus 6x minus 16. You can use Desmos to factor this, but I know that it's 8 and 2, because 8 times 2 is 16, and 8 minus 2 is 6. So I need the 8 to be negative and the 2 to be positive. Now, if you were to solve these, because that's what you're doing is solving, you would x equal positive 8 and x equal -2, which is what we got using Desmos. Okay? So they both work. All right? So let's see, we got 1, 2, we're going to do a total of 9, I think. Yes. All right. So here we go. Next one is going to be another cross multiplication. But since I've shown you that one several times, let's go to Desmos. So remember, left-hand side. Whoops. I don't know why it's not letting me write. Oh, that's on. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is just not working. Let's exit it. Okay, while that's working, I have it written down over here. So left-hand side is line 1. So it's y equals x plus 1. So that needs to be in parentheses because it's two terms. Anything more than one term has to be in parentheses if you're going to make it a fraction. Divided by 2. And then the right-hand side was y equals 9 divided by x minus 6. Okay, so all we did was, this is left-hand side, line 1, okay, and then right side was line 2, okay. And we found their intersection. Okay, so they intersect at -3 because you're solving for x, not y. So x equals -3 and x equals 8. So I'm not looking at that y, so 8 is my answers. My answers are -3 and 8. So x equals -3 and 8. Okay? And again, you can also plug those in if you wanted to check them. So if I wanted to plug in -3, I would say -3 plus 1 over 2 equals 9 over -3 minus 6. Well, -3 plus 1 is -2 over 2. And that's going to be 9 over -9. And we all can tell that's going to be -1 equals -1. And that is a correct statement. So -3 is an answer. Okay, so there's multiple ways to check yourself, multiple ways to solve this, just multiple ways to do these problems. And I've told you guys that in the 6 weeks that we had together. So let's go on to the next one. Okay. All right, so these problems are a little more what we did yesterday. Okay. Like denominators and all that good jazz. Now this one, if you look, so you got to get common denominators. So we're just going to do a review with this one, and then I'll show you. You can also do this on Desmos too. Okay. So if you look, I need to common denominators, right? So I need to put this over 1. And my common denominator is the x plus 7. So the only one missing x plus 7 is this guy right here. So I'm going to multiply him by x plus 7. So everybody's going to be on top of x plus 7. And I don't have to do any keep, change because it's addition. So x plus 7 times 1 is x plus 7. I don't have to change this guy, and I don't have to change this guy. So then yesterday what we did is we took the numerator and we solved it. So I'm going to say x plus 7 plus x equals 5. Combined, I have x and x, which is 2x plus 7 equals 5. Subtract your 7. I get 2x equals -2. Divide by 2. And your answer is x equals -1. Now, you can do this one in Desmos. You just have a bigger left-hand side. So if you look, I'm going to put left-hand side, this whole thing as you see it. Don't do what you've done. Do the original problem. So this side right here in yellow is going to be line 1. So this is line 1. Okay? And then your line 2 is going to be this guy. Okay? He didn't change. He's still singular. Okay? So we come over here to Desmos. So we have our answer as -1. Okay? So I come over here. Let's see if -1 is my answer. So I've got y equals 1. Type it just how you see it. My y didn't type. Y equals 1 plus x over x plus 7. X divided by x plus 7. So that's line 1. When you hit the equal sign, you go to line 2. So line 2 is going to be y equals 5 divided by x plus 7. Where do they intersect at? -1, which is exactly what we got when we did it by hand. Okay? All right. Let's keep grooving. So this one, all right? I'll do one. So this set I'm going to do, because I have another one, level 1. That's level 2. Same thing though. Well, we'll do this one in Desmos. Okay? So what we're going to do is the left-hand side, the entire left-hand side, okay? That is line 1. All right? So that's line 1. And then right-hand side is line 2. And don't forget your negative that's there, okay? So, come over to Desmos. I've got y equals 8 minus 9x divided by x plus 9. See how we ended up with them in parentheses because it was one term. And remember, a term is separated by addition and subtraction, so that's why 9x was okay. Equals, y equals, there was a negative, okay? And it's 4 divided by x plus 9. Now, this one, they don't intersect right here on the home screen, so we're going to zoom out a little bit. Okay. Zoom out. Now remember, if you click the graph, your gray dots appear. So you're looking for that gray dot, which is right there. See that? And I don't see any other gray dots, because remember, you can zoom out on Desmos and it still will show you those gray dots. This one's not an intersection point. That one is. So x equals 76. Okay? So again, you could have solved that one though. All right, and it would have got the same thing. All right, next one. This one. So this guy, let's solve him by hand, and then I'll show you again with Desmos. Okay, that's going to be the plan. So, first one, let's put x over 1 because it's a whole number. It is, well, a whole number is it doesn't have a denominator. Okay, if it doesn't have a denominator, you can always put it over 1. So if you look, my common denominator here is x plus 3. So that means this guy right here is missing his x plus 3. Also, you see how that's a negative? We need to do our keep, change, change. Now, this one I want you to pay attention, please. You have to change everybody in that numerator behind that subtraction. All right, so let's go and do keep, change, change. So I've got x over 1, change subtraction to addition, and change everybody in the numerator. So it's going to be negative 2x minus 3 over x plus 3 equals 3 over x plus 3. Okay, you have to distribute that negative. You have to, okay, or that 3 will be off. All right, so now this guy right here is missing the x plus 3, so we're going to multiply him by x plus 3, distribute, and we're going to come over here. All right, I have x squared plus 3x minus 2x minus 3 all over x plus 3. Don't have to do anything to the other side. Combine like terms. X squared plus x minus 3 over x plus 3 equals 3 over x plus. All right, so now we're going to bring the numerators down and we're going to solve it. Okay, I told you when you have the quadratic term and the linear term, you need to set it equal to 0. So we're going to subtract 3. And I'm going to get x squared plus x minus 6 equals 0. Factor this one. X is going to be, I know it's going to be 3 and 2. 3 and 2. And it's going to be subtraction and addition. Okay. So my answer is x equals positive 3. No, hold on, I did that wrong. No, that's right. Yeah. So it's going to be x equals positive 3 and negative 2. No, sorry. I kept looking at it and I was like, what is going on? I'm sorry. That's a positive 3 and a negative 2 because you want your middle term to be positive. But you can use Desmos, okay? So it's going to be x equals negative 3 and positive 2. Now, I want to show you something because, you know, when we were solving, you had to check your answers to who made your denominator 0 and that wasn't an answer. Well, the great thing about, I don't know where that came from, about Desmos is it only shows you the answers that you can have. It won't show you the answers that you rejected. Okay, so, because if you look, if I plug negative 3 into here, what's negative 3 plus 3? That equals 0. Can you have 0 on the denominator? No. So negative 3 is actually not an answer, and your answer is just x equals 2. Now, when you come to Desmos, okay, left-hand side line 1, right-hand side line 2, I already have it in here. Look, do you see negative? So negative 3 is right here. Do you see an answer for negative 3? No. Desmos isn't going to show you that rejected answer. So my only answer is positive 2. So that's also a great thing about Desmos is it already filters out your rejected answer. Okay? So that's really cool. Alright, so next one. So this is basically just a video full of like hints, and I don't want to call them cheats because you're really not cheating. You're actually just using what you've learned over your years of math. Okay, and I'm just pointing it out to you. Alright, So let's do this one in Desmos. Okay. So we're going to do left-hand side, line 1. Okay. That's line 1 right there. So line 1. And then the right-hand side is going to be your line 2. And you're going to find their intersection. Okay? Now, I'm going to tell you, because I've solved all these before, when you solve this, you get x equals 2 and negative 1. But negative 1 is going to be rejected, and your answer is just going to be 2. Okay? And I'm going to show you that Desmos rejects that answer for you. Again, okay? So y equals, first one is going to be x minus 2, oh, I did 2 minuses, 2 divided by x plus 1, okay? Line 2 is going to be your 2x divided by, y equals 2x divided by x plus 1. And look, my answer is 2. And see how negative 1, if we were to zoom in, oh, not out, zoom in. Negative 1's right here. You see there's no answer at negative 1. You see that? Okay. So my answer is just 2, as I told you it would be. Okay? All right. 2 more. So this one, okay, I'm going to do this one by hand. This will be the last one I do by hand. Okay. And then the other one I'm just going to do straight Desmos. Okay. So let's do this one by hand. So I don't have to do any keep, change because it's addition. Put 1 over 1. Now, I need to factor this guy, don't I? He is going to be x plus 1, x plus 2. So if my common denominator is going to be x plus 1, x plus 2. Okay, that's going to be my denominator for everybody. And whoever is missing something, we have to multiply the top by what it's missing. Now, if you look, let's do this. So 1, this one's missing all of it, isn't it? So I need to multiply him by x plus 1, x plus 2. Well, 1 times anything is the anything, right? So it's just x plus 1 over x plus 2. This guy right here, he's missing the x plus 2, so we're going to multiply that 3 by x plus 2, distribute, and get 3x plus 6. And then he's not missing anything. Now these two, I want to go ahead and pull those out. And it's just going to be x squared plus 3x plus 2. Because when you combine like terms, it's going to be easier. So I'm going to come over here and we're going to say x squared plus 3x. So once you have like denominators, you take the numerators and leave the denominators alone. Plus 2 plus 3x plus 6 equals 3. Combine like terms. X squared, there's a 3x and a 3x, which is 6x. A 2 and a 6 is an 8. Again, I repeat, if I told you if there's the quadratic term and the linear term, you have to set it equal to 0. So we're going to subtract 3. And you get x squared plus 6x plus 5. Right? No. It is 5. JK. I don't know what I typed in 5 into the calculator, my answer. So it is 5 equals 0. Then you have to factor. So you see why you're going to be probably using Desmos more than this now that you know how to do it. Okay. So x equals negative 5 and negative 1. Now, you have to check those answers. Can you plug negative 1 into this denominator? What is negative 1 plus 1? 0. Can you have 0 in the denominator? No. So we're going to reject that answer, and your answer is just negative 5. Okay? So let's go to Desmos. Left-hand side, line 1. Y equals 1 plus 3 divided by x plus 1. Right-hand side, line 2, y equals 3 divided by x squared plus 3x, oh my goodness, plus 3x plus 2. And if you look, they intersect right there at -5. Do you see any intersection? What was the other point? -1. Do you see any intersection at -1? Nope. So -5 is my only answer. Okay? All right, last one we're going to do strictly Desmos. Okay? So, left-hand side line 1, right-hand side line 2. And that one's a doozy, so I definitely will see if I can do it in Desmos first. Okay? So, we're going to do y equals, that numerator had 2 terms, so we're going to put in parentheses, 3x plus 5 divided by x plus 1. Now, to get out of that denominator, you hit the arrow button over, plus 2 divided by x minus 1. Right-hand side line 2 is 2x divided by x minus 1. I put too many x's. And if you look, I'm going to tell you the answers are -3 and we reject 1. So if you look, -3, and do we have a 1? Nope. And you can zoom out. Remember when you zoom out, all you have to do is hit the graphs and your gray points appear. So we know that's not it because that's an intersection point. We don't want intersection points. We want solutions. So x equals -3. Let's get it to show us the solution. Are we correct? Because so here's all the work that Desmos or Delta Math does for you. And see how it says? See how it says right here? 1 and -3. It tells us we reject 1, which Desmos did reject 1. And it told us we kept our final answer as -3, which is what we found on Desmos. Okay? Alright, so that is it for your second way of learning how to do rational equations. Your Delta Math is up. It's just like this. Okay? But if you have any questions, let me know. Bye, guys.